For self-improvement, crafts, and fitness games, go ahead and turn on YouTube and watch Jack.
What's going on, everybody? Jack Jenkins here for a little special video. Recently, I got a comment asking how I was able to get school for free without, paying tuition. And I thought, hey, this is a kind of an interesting story. This whole channel is themed on self-improvement and, changing your life for the better, doing different things. So I figured, hey, why not make this into kind of like a story time, kind of that type of video vibe. And I have mentioned it before multiple times that I graduated from college with a bachelor's in computer science, and I got that degree for free. So the reason I was able to get that degree for free was I was actually working in the school as an IT professional, and part of the agreement there was, hey, I can get my bachelor's degree in computer science. I then can get hired on as a developer as long as I stay with the company for 2 years. But how did I even get to that IT position, I think, is another kind of important aspect and kind of has some value there. So we'll start all the way back with young Jack in high school. So me in high school, I never wanted to go to college. I hated school. I got good grades. I got excellent grades. I pretty much got all A's in everything except for English because I just cannot, I have a hard time reading and writing. Obviously, I'm on like I mentioned before too, I have like an IEP, so a lot of some of the classes and stuff I would need an assistant with me. I'm on the spectrum, so that type of thing. But I never wanted to go to college. The college experience never really intrigued me, and I wasn't a fan of spending all that money to get a job, maybe. So instead of going to college, my plan was to start a website, start a company, and do all that type of stuff. That company was supposed to be a video game company using the Unreal Engine. It was Unreal Engine 3 back then. I had no experience making video games, but I was like, I'm going to try and do it. Try making games in the garage. Before then, in high school, I was experimenting with the XNA toolkit from Microsoft, which is what Xbox 360 indie games. Basically, I was a total gaming nerd, and I wanted to make video games as a living. So I started doing that, and it did not go so well. From there, I decided to departure from trying to make video games to doing like little websites here and there, because obviously I knew programming, I knew HTML, just from trying out different things, learning. So I built a few websites. Not really anything that got a whole lot of traction, just mostly like local businesses. This was kind of in 2013, 2014, before everybody was kind of like hopping onto the mobile site. People just needed like just basic, like upgraded websites from, the base ugly templates of 2000s up to like more of like a modern design. So that's what I started doing. Made a couple $1,000s here and there. I was living with my parents at the time. But then, I started drying up, and my parents were like, hey, at this point, you need to go to college. So while I was doing that, trying to get that side business up, I was working full-time as a janitor too, which was not fun. And I was also going to community college. I did a few classes there. I was going for biological technology. Quit that degree program, quit my job as a janitor, and I wanted to go full in on the web development page. And at that time, I learned a lot about programming and stuff, and I noticed that there was a huge gap in like YouTube videos. So that's kind of how I learned, the New Boston, a few other of these like kind of early day YouTubers. A lot of them didn't really have that much programming experience. Neither did I really at the time, but I figured like, hey, I know a lot about programming. I built a bunch of sites for people. Let me try and do that. So I built out the website, Academy of One. It's a YouTube channel. You can probably look it up. It's been dead for like 10 years now. But basically it was just like different programming videos. It got up to like 3,000 subscribers, and then I just quit that. So from there, basically, quit my job as a janitor, did a bunch of little side jobs here and there, and then I was able to land a job in Office Max doing programming. Not programming, sorry, that was before. I got a job at Office Max doing IT, doing the little computer desk work. So yeah, I was able to learn a lot there, doing like little computer like data transfer, setting up laptops for like old people, being like, oh, do you need me to install Microsoft Office for you? And these old people are like, yes, I don't know how to click the next button. So that's what I did. You know, every once in a while they would come up with a virus from watching too many like adult websites. So I'd have to like go through the history and be like, oh God, this is awful. This old man is looking at like, you know, barely 18. She turned 18 that day, and 75-year-old grandpa's going to enjoy that. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Had a lot of experience. Learned how to kind of work with customers there. And at the same time, I was building up a website called Sarai. Sarai was supposed to be kind of like what Taptastic is now. It was kind of like a web comic site where you would use these little coins called Sarais. Basically, Sarai is supposed to be close to the word of Indian for economy. It was this whole stupid thing. Honestly, I dumped so much money into it. I bought servers. I did a whole lot of work, and what happened, it was basically, it did start getting traction. I saw a lot of users from like Russia and European, and I was like, all right, this site's growing. And anyways, I was looking, I was like, they're posting comics. This is exciting. And then I started reviewing the comics they're posting, and they were posting comics that were not exactly legal. So I'm like, I don't have the time or energy to moderate this and to develop this platform. I'm shutting this down because I don't want to go to, you know, jail for hosting this Russian comic that are just bad. So I just shut down the whole site. Screw it. I'm not doing this anymore. You know, these Russian comics were like super violent and super like sexual, disgusting. This guy's just driving a car right by my house. But like I shut that down, focused solely on doing Office Max. I was so depressed, being like, I'm not living at all up to my potential. While I was working at Office Max, I saw an ad for a customer service for a college. And this was just like, you know, a basic like, hey, can you pick up the phone and answer questions for students? And I was like, yeah, I can do that for a side. So I got that position. Turned out that it was a huge thing. Like this college supported like so many different students. They have like 20 different locations across the country. So there was like 30 people added on as a temp. All of us started working, you know, and then after it was done, we found out that one person was picked to be hired on full time as customer service. That person ended up being me because I had a pretty decent customer experience using like Office Max, and I was also a little bit more technically inclined than a lot of the people there. So someone was like, hey, I don't know how to install Microsoft Office on my student computer. They would like transfer the call to me as like a temp agent. I'll be like, all right. So I was able to get that job at that school. Once I became full-time as customer service, I actually was pretty good friends with the boss at the time, so they moved me over to IT support. From there, they actually offered to pay for my college through the college I was obviously working at, and then I would get a 4-year degree, and then I would just have to stay for the company 2 years after. And this is the company that I currently work with too. They partnered with, it was kind of like a weird thing where they transitioned from the college to its own company, and I was kind of carried over with that. So from there, I was basically just learning everything I could about computer science, trying to jam as much information as possible while in school, while also working the IT support side of things, working probably 60 hours. Eventually, they offered me a higher position if I worked overnights. So I did overnight work on top of full-time school. It was just horrible. I was working like 6 days a week overnights. Barely get to see my girlfriend, my then girlfriend, now wife. It was just miserable, but I was just slamming it out. I was getting all A's in my classes. I was doing very, very well with my job. Eventually, they even offered me to take on like a software, basically like an automated ticketing system that we built out. So I was offered to take that. I worked on it. I improved it in a lot of ways, kind of rewrote it into a completely different language. Originally, it was like a little, just like a command line interface. And then from there, they moved it over to just a simple like WinForms app, and I took it from there, turned it into a WPF app with like an API interface. I don't want to get too technical because I don't want to get people, turned off from the video, just sitting here doing computer jargon. But basically, I made the app into something way bigger and better, something that can be easily updated and hosted over on the company's website. So they were actually so impressed with that I was able to move from IT support over to developer, and it was that managing fries, and plus I did well. They sent me to Florida a few times to like different offices, sent me over to Pennsylvania, so I was able to like travel a lot while trying to work overnight shift while also doing school. It was just crazy. But there, I was able to get a developer job before I graduated college. I then graduated college, got another promotion, and now I'm still working for the same company. Working off those 2 years, actually, since I graduated back in April of 2022. So the lessons that I want to talk here, and I see this a lot, is like, how do I get free college? This is how I did it. I went from being a kind of like a college dropout, technically, dropping out of college, wanted to start my own business, to being able to land a job at Office Max, just through different skills that I picked up and being nice to the boss, to being hired on and being promoted to developer. The things that I learned in that journey is the number one thing I would tell people is to be kind and good. Honestly, like one of the reasons besides my technical skill that I was hired out of those 30 people is that I actually had decent customer skill. Working at Office Max, working with all these older people, I learned to just kind of, a lot of these people, they're very lonely and they want someone to talk to. So, you talk to them. You'd be like, oh, you watch any good movies recently? And they'll be like, oh man, have you seen that Uncut Gems? And they would talk about like Uncut Gems, which is the movie featuring Adam Sandler. They would talk about it for like 30 minutes while I'm just sitting there working on the computer, and then they would rate me like 5 stars because they got some social interaction while actually solving their issue. So these are like old people. You would kind of, learn to like vibe with them, and they would just rate you so highly that when I was in customer service, I was getting so many high stars. They were like, oh, you're doing great. And I'm like, all I did was listen to this guy talk about different John Wayne movies while I installed like something on his computer, or while I was waiting to connect to the advisors or something like that. But honestly, like being kind, being good with customer service is immensely important. That's one thing, and I know it's easy to hate some of the customers. Trust me, I hate some of these old people too. I remember specifically this one guy almost got in a fight with me, coming, screaming at me, being like, why did you guys shut down this? But by the way, I worked as like the customer service desk or a customer computer desk at Office Max. This guy was yelling at me because they shut down the Office Max in his town, so he had to drive out to the one in our town that had a higher tax, like sales tax. I'm like, why do you think it's my fault? And he was like threatening to fight me, and like, it was insane. I was like, what do you want from me? I didn't shut down, whatever. But like the point I want to make is that like learning customer service skills is vital, because you use those customer service skills even now when I interact with my bosses and stuff. You have to maintain that like nice, friendly kind of, customer service talk. You gotta learn to shoot the shit. I think there's one of the worst pieces of advice people say on the internet all the time is don't be friends with HR. Don't be friends with your coworkers. That is absolutely stupid, because the opinions of your coworkers and the opinions of your boss are the single most important thing. Another story that I like to tell is like we went back when there was a promotion from level 1 customer service to level 2 customer service before I jumped to IT support. It was me who was newly hired and a guy who's been there for 2 years. This guy knew so much more than me. He was so smart. I would go to him all the time and be like, hey, this guy has a question on like his course. Where's the book? And the guy's like, oh, this is the book. This is the thing. The main issue is that people did not like working with him because he was so crabby. He would yell at people. He would, talk back to like the students and stuff when they call in, which, he would get marked up for that. So it doesn't matter how smart you are if you're not good with working with people. And trust me, I'm not good with working with people. You can hear me mumble through like this video. I'm a mumbler. But the point is, you have to be nice and understand that most people are going through some shit. Just listen, be kind, talk about movies, talk about TV, and they'll like you. Like I said before, I'm on the spectrum. One thing I learned is that if you can basically manipulate people to think that you're more interesting than you are, if you just talk about movies and music, those two things, the two M's, M and M, are the two things that if you can talk to people about, they will think you're smart. They will think you're the kindest person in the world. That's a pro tip for people. But yeah, that's easily one of the biggest things is be nice. Be someone people like to work with, and they will just promote you to no end. That's in my experience. Obviously, it depends highly on the company. Some companies don't like you. Some bosses won't like you. But you just kind of got to, switch companies then. But the main point I want to make in this video is that, yes, I got my college paid for by working with a good company. That doesn't mean every company would also help pay for it. That was my path. This whole story was for someone like me. I hope it helps someone else like me. But this exact path is not available for everyone. Because even the school I go through doesn't offer this anymore. Some places like Starbucks only offers it for certain schools. A lot of times they would fire you before you're all the way through your degree program, so you're left with half a degree. There's just so many different variables that happen when you have a company pay for your school. So many issues that can pop up. And I would just want to say that be careful about it. If you agree to this, make sure that this is a place that you can stay in for all 4 years, and then whatever else kind of happens after that. Like, I know Starbucks will pay for 100% of your tuition, but can you really stay at Starbucks for 4 years? Can you really deal with working like that kind of physical labor, 40 hours a week on top of doing all the schoolwork? I don't think I could. I could do 60 hours doing technical support stuff and doing computer science stuff because I like that. Obviously, I'm a big nerd. But if I had to do Starbucks for 40 hours a week, like 20 hours less, I could not do that. I don't think I could pass that. So my big thing is like, understand if you take a company's offer, make sure you stay there. I don't know this whole rambling story. This has lessons and stuff. This is just a question someone asked, and I'm like, I can kind of explain my story, what I learned, and all this kind of stuff. I hope this helps someone, and if it doesn't, then whatever. Congratulations, you wasted 19 minutes. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, leave them below. I'll make sure to comment on each and every comments that get left. If you have any questions for me or any challenges you want me to do, this whole YouTube channel is about watching someone grow and improve themselves over time through various challenges. That's my overall thesis for this. Obviously, I'm like a fat kind of nerdy dude, and I hope at some point to be who I think most people idealize themselves to be. And that's what I want to do, is try and be like, okay, so this person does this. How much does that actually help you? How much does doing Jazzercise actually do? Does it actually transform your face like the ads say? Let's find out. So yeah, if you guys have any challenges and stuff you want me to do, then please leave them in the comments below. I'll do pretty much any challenge that isn't illegal or won't super hurt me. While you guys are down there, please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'm hoping to get to 1,000 subscribers this year. So please, please, please go ahead and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TrueJackJank. Visit my website, jack-jenkins.com. Lastly, I want all you guys watching to have an amazing day. Each one of you guys are amazing now and can continue to improve and become even more amazing. And you're asking yourself, how do you improve yourself? You don't do it alone. We improve ourselves together. I know it's cheesy, but I like that. That's kind of like a nice thing.